You're beaten, and the commander again. It will be your last. You're gonna have a trip of all places. Well, can you stand people with mental illness, huh? Maybe there you'll be educated, or you could be, well, giving you some severe conditions. Conditioning, yeah, right.
To the management of this show, fuck you. It's time for the 1-on-1 with the Brutal One, featuring Jag Garcia. And I swear to the management, I'll get you for depriving me of super ass kicking experience. That I swear I get you. Oh!
Oh, good evening to you all. It's Murphy the Marmot, and the commander is going, well, got something to do, so he asked me to do this stuff because I have a good friend of mine who happens to be our guest of this show. So, come on, man, let's get it on with it. Sure.
Good evening to everyone who's watching on 1-on-1 with the Brutal One, Rolando Alejandro Zamora. It's me, the Brutal One, and now we're gonna do variety talks with Jag Garcia, one of the hosts of Kayfabe Cafe. Now, good evening to you, and how's your night, mates?
Hey, how's it going, Mayor? Could be better. I mean, at least I still get to live in a roof. I still get to live in a house. I get to eat. I think that's what counts right now, especially considering the pandemic. How about you? How's everything going on in your end?
Lalo pang lumalakas to. Lalo pang lumalakas ang aking katawan ngayon. Terming busog, masagana, sa masustansyang pagkain at alak. Pagdating sa pagkain, siyempre si Mrs. Numero 1 at wala nang iba. Kagaya ko, numero 1 pa rin sa siyudad ng San Juan at wala nang iba. Eventually, medyo nadadiyahin na ako sa kakaisip ko sino ang karapat dapat na updating guest. I had a lot of numerous peoples in there. And then, you're my last resort. As a, final solution to put an end to it after all. We're gonna do it on Saturday. So, now what question that I had in mind? What question? Yes. Let's go from the humble beginnings of your pro wrestling fandom. On what particular year you actually started hooking yourself into WWE and related stuff?
Well, I mean, I kind of started late compared to a lot of guys. I think I was around 11 or 12 when I first started watching wrestling. Back in RPN 9, they had SmackDown, and that was my fix. And they would also have the pay-per-views, of course, some edited or shortened. So I was able to catch stuff like Bad Blood, Vengeance, even WrestleMania on RPN 9. And then that evolved. I started to expose myself more to stuff like, eventually I was able to watch Raw and SmackDown on Jack TV. And at the same time, they were ABC was trying out ABC 5 at the time was trying out the TNA. And back then it was like, I think it was NWA TNA, because this was when Jeff Jarrett was NWA World's Champion, and this exposed me to guys like Low Key, to AJ Styles, of course, to Christopher Daniels, Petey Williams. Right?
Yeah, Loki.
Sorry?
Who would become Cabal in WWE years later. Part of the second batch of NXT stars.
Oh,
but
yeah, I kind of want to forget about Loki, considering what he said about wearing masks in public.
Yun, nabasa ko. Seryoso ba siya talaga?
Well, he's American, and you know about Americans. Sometimes they feel a little entitled to to their opinion, even though, as idiotic as it may sound, I'm sorry for having to call low key, and to that extent, Austin Aries an idiot. But yeah, you can't defend not wearing a mask, especially in a time when when hundreds of thousands of people in the U.S. alone are dying already.
I pity the fools. I pity those fools. Anyway,
All right.
you can continue your story behind that if you won't mind.
Yep. I mean, the most I really got into it around, yeah, I started getting into it around when I was 12. That's for sure, because it was after WrestleMania 20. That's when I started watching wrestling. So a particular man formerly known as Wild Pegasus was world champion at the time. I was worshiping a man who would lie, cheat, and steal his way up to victory, and so did everyone else. I got behind the storyline of Dominic and of the custody of Dominic, and
Ayun,
I
hindi
do
ko
not
makakalimutan
regret
yan.
it.
I still remember that. I mean, one of my favorite storylines at the time. Just cannot imagine they would create something like this for a rivalry and then later child custody. It doesn't make any sense what's got Eddie's mind. I mean, on his mind it has something to do with him unable to defeat or one up Rey Mysterio by all means. And the man who become
Yeah,
The Crippler, yeah, he's one of my favorites. No matter what the circumstances happened in
hmm
2007, he's still one of my all-time favorites. Anyway,
hmm
let's say what I mean, after
yeah.
that one like that. What else you would like to share something else quite interesting?
Well, to be honest, I did stop watching wrestling after a while. This was in between that time that I didn't have cable and wrestling was no longer on free TV. So I barely got to follow through. I knew a few things going on, like ECW and like WWE ECW rather, was a thing. And I think I started watching again around 2011. I got a little more invigorated to watch wrestling again, especially because um, I'm sure I'm not sure how many people know this, but um, a few years ago, before PWR was a thing, before Philippine wrestling was growing again, I was in the intern. I would took an internship in a radio station that Mr. C happened to be an alumni of, and also hosted his own show. Um, I remember, yeah, it was my birthday when when he came over. When I came over to train on his to train over on his show, and we just marked out, man. We had the wrestling hour. Stan and I and a bunch of others were going nuts about wrestling. We had, like, imagine how many times you get to say five time world champion on national radio. Well, not really national radio, Manila radio, but still, right? And I think I do owe it to him and the SGP group for actually reinvigorating my love for pro wrestling. Um, you can't help but that there's a huge boom with what they're doing, with what I mean I hope that it's I mean I hope that they still keep to that edge, that of course it's all about, like, it's all for the love of sport, it's all about for the passion, and I hope that doesn't go away for anyone anytime soon. And especially with the controversies which are happening all over the wrestling scene, the UK in particular, and some parts of the US, and even in our own even in our own home federations, there have been these issues. I just hope that it doesn't kill the scene, considering considering the numerous allegations that are being addressed right now.
The
And
sexual misconduct controversy. Yes. It has something to do not only with Alex Cuevas, but believe it or not, even, yes, PWR, that's one. Although PWR's controversy was famous for the man who portrayed classical Brandy, for example, and the management disaster during that time in 2016. But I can say if I had to include yung unang batch doon na nakaroon ng division, pero yung kalahati nito doon na nagsimula yung MWF and the rest is history as we knew. But I don't know why PWR was prone to something like this. Some
um,
parts that it doesn't make any sense.
I'm not at liberty to say. I mean, to be fair, I do have friends on both sides, and I still consider them friends. I will, well, except for probably a few guys that I don't want. I'm trying my best to distance, of course, because I don't want to piss off the wrong people, and I've pissed off the wrong people at some points during my quote unquote wrestling journalism career.
Achoo. Yes, yes, yes. Eventually, I need to know your reaction regarding this Alex Cueva character. I had taken a picture of him. I seen him for the say is it Satan Trudeau or what?
We've seen. No, I mean, no. Okay. I'm sure you've. I don't know if you read. I don't know if you've read the stories brought out by Crystal and Nina.
Yun. Nabasa ko
Yeah,
yun.
those. Yeah,
Yan yung
and
malupit. Kay Nina muna tayo regarding that one. I need to know your reaction after her revelations.
I'm sorry. I mean, I just honestly, it sucks. I mean, okay, here's the thing. Like, regardless of who Dina and Crystal are, these are still women. And the thing I don't like about it is that there are guys that think that they can get their hands on them, and it's sickening. It's really sickening. I'm trying my best not to swear because I don't want your video to be taken down because I use foul language. But
No, that's okay. That's okay. This is for adult stuff, like me and
I
you, adult.
know, but
Dito
I
pang
know.
bata, not for children.
Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, but still, consent is still a must, and I think that's where I really hate it because numerous this is not like this doesn't just affect famous people with influence like Nina and Crystal. We're talking here about women in general. Imagine you have no idea how many times have I heard women telling me somebody catcalled me, somebody was asking for my number, somebody brushed his dick up my back while I was in the bus, and they weren't these are not wearing regular these are people trying to live like normal lives, and yet toxic men are objectifying these women. It's really sickening. I mean, when I saw these stories, particularly Crystals, I read Crystals to the letter from cover to cover, and I just can't fathom it. I really hate it that this happens. And
You
okay, I'm
look.
sorry. Like, I'm not a saint. I'm not I would not consider myself number one boyfriend, number one male friend as all the time. And but I also learn and realize how awful these things are happening. And it's not just Crystal and Nina. We're talking about the numerous women in around the wrestling scene around the world that are being affected by this.
Achoo.
I'm sorry, I got a little emotional there. It's
That's
just
okay. That's okay. At least being honest with that. In this show, it's always
yeah,
been brutal honesty, and
yeah.
there's no boundaries as long as you know how to express your feelings like that. But you have to not to go too overboard by all means. Now, another thing, kina Crystal yung nagulat ko. My reaction regarding Peter Bersosa is, and then after some time, It was on an episode of, let me see. Yes, yung wrestling podcast. That one of the common selections in there. Red Olier, the man behind Redrick Mahaba character, and the president of PWR today. He revealed the details about Peter Persosa. Way back like mid to late 2018, he's no longer, training PWR. And then the last time that I saw him personally was on PWR Homecoming, behind the scenes like that. And then, mukhang talagang hindi na siya associated sa PWR. Na-convince na ako. Maybe it has something to do with unable to, alam mo naman taga Norte do si Peter Versosa. Pero yung revelation ni Crystal in several weeks ago was, even ako, I kind of view Peter Versosa on a certain level na kung ako yung wrestling manager, I would have him for, Rolando Alejandro Zamora and his associates. Yeah, the associates. But I'm afraid it will never happen after this revelation. And even though in history books, he's a PHX champion at his own right, I think it's impossible na makabalik pa siya doon since Red was the one who posted the lines. Said yung words, he would not be welcome back. And he already told that to Crystal regarding this. So, no longer na talaga mag-wrestle si Peter Versosa. So, parang sabihin natin, doon na natapos yung career niya. But, ito, mga few days ago, we both discovered it in our respective timeline. On my part, ano ba naman yan? Ano to? Bakit si John Sebastian? I mean, we don't know the whole story, pero yung reaction ko, bakit naman to? Wag naman sana. May pakaloko-loko yung tao na yan, apparently, but, decent naman, but, we hope we're gonna find out so soon regarding this, backstory why he will no longer be part of PWR. I mean, permanent na to. Legit to, pre. Pero, on the man who portrayed Kapitan Juan Tutan, okay, suspension, okay, pero, I don't know what's the backstory about this suspension. Pero may ilan yung sa mga kakilala, yung mga PWR stars, yung mga used to be closely associated kay Kaptutan. For example, si Trian. You know very well, Trian is one of my good friends and I do owe him a lot of good stuff there. No matter, there are times may iba-iba yung views natin pagdating sa mga tao sa wrestling like that. But I respect that one anyway. But hopefully, he doesn't go too far on accusing me into something that I ain't. Or maybe I'm just calling someone like an apologies. How does one would feel about that? Diba? May part na medyo ma-hurt ka rin, diba? Am I that correct?
I mean, okay. I think that's what's we're trying, like, okay, this is what I guess it's what a lot of people are afraid of, because I feel like we're not saints in this story as well. I mean, we can be mad about everything that's happening right now, and sometimes you feel like something's gonna bite you in the ass when you get back. I think that's,
let's say pang magiging neutral ka kasi hindi mo pa alam yung katotohanan.
Well, I don't want to say I'm neutral about it. I'm still like I said, I'm still upset about these allegations right now, and because people are being these are like
highly controversial, parang to the point na malapit ka na maging judgmental. Alam mo yun, diba? I know this shit. Back to my point. Back to my point. These are like, even given on a regular day, these are still these are women trying to live their lives, and you can see, and harassment is constant. You should, I'm sure we have a lot of friends that have already posted this. Even some people have been pointing out that there are some real sick perverts out there thinking that they can get just because they think they have the looks, they can do anything. It doesn't mean popularity. That's for example.
And I think that that's also something that we always have to address right now. That we have to always It's all
Watch
of
what we're doing, our actions and our,
because
motions
yeah,
as well.
again,
Yun.
things are gonna bite us in the ass if you mess up, and it's really that thing that when you're being this person, this is why guys like Blampied had to leave the wrestling scene for a while because of that. I'm not saying he's I we should totally forgive him for what he did. I'm not saying we should antagonize him either. Keep an eye out because they say yeah because he said he's gone through reform, and I hope that more people come through that reform right now because especially in a time where we need more allies in the cause. Um,
Do you
like
mention the name Rich Swan, right?
oh, I didn't mention which Swan yet, but yeah, those that's also there are numerous people like even like 99% of the British wrestling scene has been wiped out because of the allegations.
Shit.
Remember, like
Look,
yeah, I think.
as men, it doesn't matter,
Mm,
men or women, we can be assholes in our own right. But there are boundaries, and then there are times we just let our emotions get the best of us and do something that we're definitely gonna regret for the rest of the entire life. Mine, I have my own
yeah.
share, even kahit adulthood. But
Mm,
given that me behind this personality of mine, may part na madali ako mag-violent outburst kapag punong-puno na. Like that.
yeah.
Which is why no matter how we all are human, we're pretty human, we have to be careful of our emotions as much as possible. This is the kind of
Mhm.
thing that I'm no stranger. In fact, may mas grabe pa nga kaysa sa akin o kaysa sa'yo o kahit sino man.
Yeah,
Pero
and
still,
mm,
bad pa rin, as always. And we vow not to go to there again. Like that. Pang, ayaw na natin bumalik yung part ng nakaraan, whatsoever. And then, we
yeah,
feel like we had to disassociate ourselves into something that we didn't mean to do this shit. Maybe we could restart anew without dredging up some old skeletons behind us. It's like, who has time for having a monkey behind the back? You know
mm,
what I mean by that.
yeah, and I think like especially with the argument boys will be boys at this point, it's no longer valid because yeah, we can be men can be better, and yet when people challenge that idea of being a better man, it feels like they're being attacked for who they are. Remember that there was this commercial.
Hmm?
I forgot if it's Axe or some other male no, it's Gillette. It was the Gillette commercial.
Okay?
Um, wherein guys are calling out other guys for being assholes, for being misogynistic, for being abusive, and that's the end goal. But then people, I don't know, may men went online to rant about it, and here I am just saying, who's the snowflake now? Because yeah, that's the thing. We have to challenge as men. We have to challenge ourselves to be better people, to be better than to treat everybody with respect, to treat everybody with the equal rights. You can't just just because you have a penis doesn't mean you should be able to fuck anything you want that moves.
Ay nako, pagdating dyan, may mga, look you will agree with me that I do like girls or young women whatsoever, but that doesn't mean I wanna do the same thing that those legitimate perverts do. I know where my boundaries is. But yeah, we
Hmm.
can fantasize it on our own. Why publicize it? That was stupid, right? I mean,
Yeah.
yes, and we have to keep this is our privacy stuff. You know that. Pero, ang hindi ko magets talaga, let's talk about Alex Cuevas, if you don't mind.
Okay.
You know
Go
very
ahead.
well I'm taller than Alex Cuevas, am I not correct? And
I think yeah.
you know very well, like I treat him like my, Hoy boy, halika dito. Boy, come here, boy. House boy whatsoever. Pero for someone with a size like that, gusto pumato sa mga babae, kagaya ni na, aforementioned ni na Crystal. It's like this guy, parang wala pa siyang experience. Pero, yung gelote na yan, kumag eh. Hindi niya pwedeng gawin yan, awkward saka ma-offended. Kung gusto niya, yung sa mga babaeng gustong makatikim ng lalaki, syempre. Hindi yung babaeng ayaw yung ito. Wag mong masyadong sapilitan. Kapag may babaeng gusto sa'yo kaagad, okay, nasa iyo na. Tingnan mo kung type mo. Kung gusto mo, sige. Pero, tanda mo, responsibilidad mo yan kapag dinisgrasya mo. Nagets mo?
Actually, I think if I want to clarify on that one because I remember watching because recently I was watching The Boys.
Okay.
It's this Amazon series, and the thing is like there was this on the pilot on the first episode. I think it was the first or the second episode. Okay, there's a superhero, this newly recruited superhero into like the Justice League team of that show, Starlight, and she was alone with this guy, the Deep, and basically she was fangirling in a sense, like she was saying, yeah, you know, like I used to have a crush on you and stuff like that, and the guy dropped his pants, like. You have to like at that moment you have to realize how wrong that was. Like you can't like okay
Where's the
there
guy's
are
decency?
yeah, but even if at that point if she was ready to go, doesn't mean that she is ready to go. Doesn't you don't like that's not a signal, guys. I'm not even sure. Like I guess like I'm kind of afraid. I'm just low key scared to talk about this sometimes because yeah, you want to try and address this as you want to address this as good as much as possible, while trying to maintain that fact that we're trying to be decent people. We're keyword there's trying like, but also doesn't mean that that we have to challenge that. We have to challenge that that
Katangian ng
masculinity.
iyong pagkalalaki.
Yes, we have to challenge that one. We have to challenge it that in a way that we have to like, yeah, again being better. We have to be better about it because yeah, there's a way you can woo someone into it. Mapa no, regardless of who you're into. Like don't
Huwag ka lang
try
bastos.
to not just bastos, manipulate, don't manipulate them into it. Okay, this is like going back to the crystal scenario.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the story, like when she posted that story, she said I let Alex stay in my house. Yeah, that's what she said, but that doesn't mean it's an open invite
Tama
to
ka nga, tama ka
to
nga.
yeah, because again she was trying to be helpful, and because it doesn't matter who she is, she's just a person trying to help out another peer, and that was not an open invitation to basically do what he did. I don't want to repeat that, but he doesn't but it's not an open invitation because because for one, it was being civil. This is supposed to be a professional thing, and you lose that sense of professionalism when you do that. And number two,
Lang utang na loob, kung sabihin natin.
yeah, uh-oh. And number two, yeah, I like you don't like just because you're staying at a woman's house doesn't mean that you get to that it's a hot coffee mod from Grand Theft Auto. It doesn't work like that, guys.
Nakalimutan niya, bahay niya yun. Bisita lang siya. He know the boundaries, right? Pero sinadya ba niya na hindi niya alam yung boundaries dahil sa kanyang sexually aggressive attitude? Kumbaga, kung totoo nga ba yun, of course.
Doesn't mean like it doesn't like okay, like he was even like this is where I also don't like it like when people or personally I don't like it when people draw the line and will try to use a mental illness as an excuse to be like that, because because you're creating that stigma that yeah, you may be suffering from mental illness, you may be suffering from depression, but doesn't give you a right to be a prick, because because you have to be accountable. You have to be accountable for your actions still, and you don't use it as an excuse. It's like I don't know, like when you go to an entitled parent story, and then you see people saying, "But I'm a single mother. I should get a discount." Doesn't It's not a card you can play to get what you want. You can use it as an avenue to express how you're personally feeling, but it doesn't mean that people should give you sympathy in the form of physical intimacy. Can we change the topic now? Can we change the topic, Mayor? Sorry.
That's okay. At least you're being honest with that. Welcome to the any
Yeah,
topic. It works. After all,
just so
brutal honesty.
heavy.
Yes. Pero ito
Just so
kay Alex
heavy.
Cuevas, kung saan ka man
Yeah.
naroon, kapag katapat mo yung gusto sa'yo, except na maskulada at matangkad pa sa'yo, gutat na lang. Kapag gusto mo, sige. Pero kapag ikaw yung bugbog sarado, wag kang nang magreklamo pa. Ginusto mo yun eh. Ayan, pumunta sa'yo. Pero kapag hindi mo tinanggap, hipokrito ka. Masyado ka namimili ng mga chicks. Gago. Sap kitong upakan eh. Kinuti talaga itong tarantado na to. Dapat ibigay ko sa akin pa hambalusin ko ng kadena sa likod. Para na aking houseboy na alipin kung sabihin. Pero I don't want to use the word alipin. It belongs to Jake De Leon, of course. Me, I treat him as a jalote, and that's just it. But instead, maybe I could turn him into a human doormat if I want to. Pero we'll leave that one behind to the others that who are more bloodthirsty towards him. Take my word for it, okay? Well,
Yeah.
anyway, that's a wrap up for the part one. We could go to the part two, and then we're gonna talk about your how you got yourself into PWR, MWF, and then what used to be the Art of War Wrestling, now the World Underground Wrestling Philippine chapters. Well, this is the Brutal One Say 101 with the Brutal One. We'll be right back after a short break.